Welcome back to the GTN show. This is an exciting week in the world of triathlon because RaceRanger, the draft-busting device, finally went live in a pro race in New Zealand.
Yeah, the controversy around Svenja Toes and her disqualification at Ironman Cork has at last been resolved after months of legal battles. We've also got the Global Triathlon Awards, including some unique dancing from Gustav Iden.
Yep, and the trail running community has set up a trail running union, perhaps taking a bit of inspiration from triathlon with the Pro Triathlon Union, which obviously we all now know as the PTO. Okay, kicking off with Reacts, and we've got a lot of stuff to chat through this week, but I want to start with this one from George Peasgood. He's a very talented British para-triathlete who unfortunately around 4 or so months ago had a disastrous bike crash, which has left him hospitalised since. And he's basically put up his first post since that accident, saying it's been a long journey. He's obviously saying thanks to his partners, family, sponsors and stuff. He goes on to say, we'll get there. I don't know where there is yet, but we're on one hell of a journey. But yeah, I'm pleased to see he's up and about to some degree and enjoying time with family and loved ones. But yeah, great to see him.
Yeah, and exactly, if he's sort of now able to have a bit of interaction, hopefully that's a sign that there's a big improvement there. So yeah, we wish you all the luck, obviously, George. Moving on, out to a little bit of sunshine, as we know triathletes are always in search of the sunshine, especially in the winter, and it does seem like half of the pro field are out in the Canary Islands at the moment.
We've got Laura Phillip out there, we've got Kat Matthews is out there with the likes of India Lee, Leon Chevalier's there, Daniel Backegard. I'm sure I've missed some. There's all sorts of people out there at the moment.
Don't blame them.
Yeah. We did also spot that Sam Long's boasting about his new Trek Madon that he's just received, kitted out with full SRAM Red E-Tap, DT Swiss ERC 45mm wheels, all sorts. I mean, it's a very nice looking bike, isn't it, that new Trek Madon?
He does say black to pink Madon, but to me it looks red. I'm slightly... Maybe
I would say red as well.
Yeah, not sure how that's going to go with his kit at the moment.
Yeah, I mean his TT bike was definitely a pink, but that, yeah.
Interesting. Anyway, yeah, there's another new, bike relationship announced here from Erik Lagerstrom, and not just announced. First he says, I am Specialized, full video on YouTube, and I would actually suggest going to watch this, but he says, maybe not a shock to some, but for me, like a big race result that still feels a bit unreal. Being sponsored by any bike company, let alone the biggest and the best on earth, was a huge goal of mine as a kid, and Stoked doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of how I feel about this. Now, Erik has certainly gone to the lengths when it comes to announcing this. He's made a video and has its own soundtrack that's actually been made by his friend Nick Goldston, and it's pretty cool. They've gone to some effort with this.
Yeah, it's really impressive. Obviously, Paul has been with Specialized for a little while now, and whilst you might have seen Erik riding the Specialized, maybe mountain biking on it from time to time, it sounds like he's very excited to finally be officially signed with them. I saw he commented actually that they would still be sharing a Shiv Tri disc between them because they're the same size, but he is specifically going to be focusing more on Xterra this year. He's going to be off-roading and using the UCI TT bike. So yeah, really cool, and yeah, very impressive edit. So well done to the lads for that. Also, I mean, we discussed the Spine race that's happening or was happening over here in the UK last week, and here's just a pretty epic shot from it. And I saw quite a few shots like this with the athletes coming in and more or less having to cut their running shoes off because the shoelaces were iced so much, and there was so much ice that had built up on the shoelaces. They looked like dreadlocks. It was so weird.
Crazy stuff. I mean, this is when you really want to be able to grow a beard. This is where I feel like 50% of the population have an advantage doing something like the Spine race, because that is a good show of facial protection we have right now.
Obviously, when we were talking about this last week, the race was still ongoing. It was actually won on the women's side by Claire Banworth from France in time of 97 hours and 39 minutes. On the men's side, it was Damien Hall that took the win in a time of 84 hours and 36 minutes, setting a new men's course record. But the actual overall record still stands, and that is held by a woman.
By Yasmin Paris, from 2019. I mean, that's quite incredible. It is unusual to have to say men's record rather than overall, which is very cool. Moving on, we've just a quick one spotted these potential new shoes from Nike, the Vaporfly 3 Next Percent prototype. Yeah, they look pretty lightweight. And
yeah, the upper looks just so thin, doesn't it? Like it's a mesh essentially. So
yeah, no use for running in the UK at the moment.
Very cool. We also spotted this from Ultra Sophie in response to UTMB Cares.
Now, this is an interesting initiative that UTMB have kind of made this campaign to look at why there's not as many women on the start line as there are men. In fact, I think there's less than 10% at the start of UTMB are women, and there's various reasons for that. And they've put out this survey, and they've come out with, we've worked it all out. And this is Sophie's post here, basically saying that they've realised that it's because the women don't have enough time to train, they've got to sort childcare, etc., etc. And they are saying that they're now going to be doing some mentoring, so matching younger athletes with more experienced athletes to help them work out how to solve these problems. But it does sound a little bit like scratching the surface, and Sophie's definitely picking them out on this. And she's set up her own campaign called She Races, and they are helping race organisers to actually educate them to work out ways that you can practically help women get to the races rather than just a mentorship. So there's a little bit of a dig there, but she's also trying to be quite helpful with it, and it's just trying to work on the gender balance, which is cool.
Yeah, good on her. I also spotted this quite interesting topic, or also a move by this young athlete from Ines Fitzgerald, who's a very talented British female runner, 16 years old, placed 4th in the European Under-20 cross-country championships. And she's actually rejected her spot for a World Cup in Australia due to the emissions of the flight out there, a 20-plus hour journey out there, and has decided at 16 years old, you know what? I am not going to do long-haul flights and travel outside the country for things like that.
Yeah, massive respect to having that awareness, I guess, and also, a bit that self-belief, because I must admit, at that age, I just thought, oh my God, so I was selected to go to Australia, I'd just be straight on, and not think about the bigger issues. So there's hope for the future with great athletes like that, so good luck to her.
And last week we also mentioned about the Global Bike Festival that's happening with our company, with GCN, GmbN, and now also ourselves. It'll be taking place out in Saalbach in Austria over the course of a few days. So you'll be able to come and join us. We're basically soaking it all up, riding in the mountains, running on the trails, and we've got live music, film showings, and just hanging out with us guys. Be great enough.
I'm hoping I get to come along. Sounds fun.
Definitely. Well, the link for the event is in the description down below. If you'd be interested in coming and joining us, then do go check that out.
And now it's time to crack on with the tri news. And as we mentioned, it was the Global Triathlon Awards, the inaugural awards, in fact, that were in Nice last weekend. And it was quite a who's who of triathlon who attended. And there were a huge amount of categories, but the main ones we're going to take a quick look at were the best male and best female. And I don't think anyone's going to argue, or any massive surprises to hear, that Flora Duffy won the best female. And it could have been a competition between Gustav and Christian, but Gustav Eden was also awarded the best male. Yeah, we also had the lifetime kudos, or lifetime athlete, and that was Nicholas Spirig, and a lifetime contributor to Bob Babbitt. We also had Rookie of the Year, and that was Chelsea Sidaru, who, I've got a question, what qualifies you as a rookie? Chelsea's been in the sport for a very long time, hasn't she? I'd like to just ask her opinion on that one. It would be interesting, wouldn't it? Yeah. Anyway. Moving on, last year in Ironman Ireland, or Ironman Cork, Svenja Toes took the tape ahead of GB Simone Mitchell, and then later was disqualified for supposed outside assistance. Now, they've had a bit of an ongoing legal battles between Svenja Toes and Ironman for some time now, and it's finally been resolved, or settled at least, and Svenja Toes has been reinstated as first place finisher, and actually has taken the prize money for first place, and apparently Simone Mitchell has managed to keep her first place prize money, which is quite a good move, I guess, by Ironman. This did initially affect her PTO rank, or at least did for last year, by about 3 places, but she was outside the top 20, so it didn't necessarily affect her earnings for the year so much. But they haven't actually alluded to what that outside assistance was. Maybe there's legal reasons for that. Yeah. But it would be good. If it could be educational or helpful. Well, exactly. If there isn't an issue with it and she's been reinstated as a result, well, why don't they just tell us? We'd all just like to know because we're nosy Parkers, but also, if there's something that we could learn from it, pros could learn from it, then that would be good, right? We might have to do a bit of digging. Find out what went on. Watch this space. We'll report back. Now, a few weeks ago, we were talking about trail running, we often do actually, and how it's quite a fast-growing sport, and quite a few of the athletes are becoming used to the fame that's coming with the growing sport. I think the likes of Kilian Jornet or Courtney Dorwater, Jim Walmsley, we see lots of documentaries about them, and they've got this huge following. And it's just showing the signs of where the sport is going, along with the recent acquisition of UTMB from the Ironman group. Things are starting to change, and the athletes a couple of years ago started to talk about maybe we need to come together and actually have a voice here. Well, they've now, 2 years later, actioned that, and they sent out an invite to 150 different athletes. There's 120 who've actually signed up to become part of this new trail running union, so to speak, from 35 different countries. And they've got quite a few missions or quite a few points that they want to really shout about and make happen.
Well, in summary, their aims are better anti-doping protocols, athletes' rights within the sports, trying to mitigate some of the environmental impacts of the sport and the events, and also, and I guess it's quite a big one, is planning an athlete-friendly race calendar. And I guess at the moment, with it being a growing sport, it's all quite disjointed and quite hard for the athletes to kind of plan their season and knowing where to be.
Yeah, especially with, I think, the fact that now athletes have to do a UTMB race to be able to qualify for UTMB and can't use their other races. So that will probably help other race organisers to make sure they carry on getting the footfall that they need as well.
Yeah, definitely. Now, an interesting one here. We've all heard of OnlyFans, I'm sure most of you have. They've actually signed their first pro mountain biker, and that is Lewis Buchanan. Now, the platform has obviously been known for a number of years for its kind of explicit adult content, and probably isn't something that most of us are looking at, but they're trying to transform that and get themselves away from that image or being associated to that sort of topic. So the idea of getting these athletes in, and Buchanan isn't the first pro athlete that they've signed, but he's the first mountain biker, and the idea is to get them on to sort of share tips that you can sign into, pay for those tips, etc. A bit like Patreon, I guess. And yeah, I mean, it could be an exciting one to see if that starts to grow into other sports, even triathlon. Yeah,
I wonder who the first triathlete will be to sign up.
Yeah, very cool. Also, as you may be aware, we've been running our 30 in 30 on Zwift this past month. There's still a few days you can get involved, just doing 30 minutes of exercise every day throughout January. We're running community events, group rides, group runs on Zwift, but also if you just want to go out and run or ride outside, do that, get involved with us, send in clips or photos to us, and we'd love to shout about that in next week's show, and also actually a video that we've got coming at the end of this month. We'd like to get you involved.
Yeah, just a few sessions left. In fact, I think it's tomorrow is my last session with you guys, so if you want a really nice, easy bike ride, come join me.
Right, now for What the Tech, and this is a piece that I've been quite excited to talk about. Now, you may remember a video that we put out last year in which myself and Heather used the new RaceRanger devices, which is essentially a draft busting device by sending a signal. Now, obviously, at the moment, when we're racing, the only way that we know the drafting distance is literally by eyeballing it, and technical officials doing the same. The idea with this RaceRanger device is by putting these devices on the front and rear of your bike is that it will determine the distance between you and the rider ahead of you and signal that distance by a colour of light or flashing, etc. And that was developed and has been developed by James Elvery and Dylan McNeese, 2 ex-pro triathletes over in New Zealand. And they were finally put to the test this weekend out in New Zealand.
Yeah, I think it was exciting. I think, well, having worked with James and seen him put in all that hard work to see it actually come to fruition and hear the athletes' opinions. Now, the Tauranga half is actually a 10-metre drafting rule because it's a New Zealand event. It's not Ironman, not Challenge or anything. And the main feedback that came from the athletes was actually how close that was. And I think they all probably, admittedly, rode, as a result of having this technology, rode closer than they would have done normally because, well, they now know that they're actually safe because they can see the lights. So they were like, well, we're going to make the full advantage of this. So it's actually almost not a flip side because that is the rules, but just taking advantage of the rules. And their next event they're actually going to be at will be Challenge Wanaka, and that's going to be the other extreme because that will be back to the 20-metre drafting rule. So that could then really see quite a difference because I think 20 metres is so hard to gauge for athletes because they're not used to riding at that distance.
I mean, James said that straight away at the end. I think that what looks like 10 metres when you're stood still was very different when they were actually moving. But yeah, great that, I mean, on the most part, it sounds like it was a big success at the event. It was well received by the athletes. It worked pretty much as smoothly as could be for a very new product. So yeah, they're doing a bit of a tour in New Zealand. They've got Challenge Wanaka and then actually Ironman New Zealand in Taupo later in the year as well. So yeah, hopefully this is the future and it'll start making its way into many more races soon.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it.
Moving on, we we've seen this fancy new feature from Training Peaks. Do you fancy stacking yourself up against other cyclists or runners or other triathletes?
I think I'd rather hide from that one.
Well, this new feature for Training Peaks Premium users does just that. I've tried it. It's actually pretty cool. So basically, you input your weight and it takes all the data that you've input over whether that's a short period of time or over the years that you've been using Training Peaks, and it can churn out your power to weight or your best pace over various different durations or distances. It could be like your 5-second best power, your minute, your 20-minute, whatever you like. And yeah, you can scroll back through the ages if you've been using Training Peaks for that long, which for me is actually a bit depressing because, well, yeah, it definitely was a lot more powerful and faster back in 2015 or whatever. But yeah, I thought it was quite cool. I mean, I was just having a little gander through before we started the show, and what was my all-time 20-minute best is 390. Puts me in the 95th percentile.
95th percentile. Sound like we're talking about baby size. We're talking
Yeah,
about a percentile.
Have you got any good ones?
I don't really know if I mean, if I look at this year, I have done 2 30-minute rides that were both easy on Zwift, so I won't read out, I don't care, my 20-minute power's 160.
I bet your running's pretty good.
167. Yeah, but I don't entirely trust my GPS when it comes to running, because you do run through woods and things, and every now and then I'll get a fast kilometre. That said, I'm gone faster
they
than
look
that.
good. You're well into the 90th percentile.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now, as you
Sorry,
say,
we're getting carried away down this rabbit hole.
This could obviously be really depressing, but what Training Peaks have said is actually, if you are monitoring this and you are training, following a program, you'll be surprised actually how quickly you start climbing up through the percentiles. And so actually, you can actually start to be quite motivating.
Yeah. Especially if you go at the beginning of the year and just do it for this year, you've got a higher chance of being high up. Not that it's a competition or anything, obviously. Anyway, moving on, in actual fact, moving down under, we have just had the Tour Down Under. And you might, if you do follow cycling, you might have noticed that they had the time trial as expected, but no one was riding time trial bikes. Now, this was because, well, they changed the rules to make it road bike only to reduce the logistics and the environmental concern of getting time trial bikes all the way across the world for just a 5.5 kilometre time trial race.
Yeah, and weirdly they didn't allow clip-on aero bars. So we saw some really interesting tech and some pretty unusual choices actually. One that wasn't entirely unusual or unexpected is the fact we saw disc wheels on road bikes, which always look weird, but why wouldn't you? Now, the UCI actually have a regulation with the width of the handlebars in terms of how narrow they can get. We've seen some insanely narrow ones where people really tested that. But what they don't have a regulation on is the fact that the hoods can be turned in. So we've had these really narrow handlebars by some riders, and hoods then turned in. So they're holding on to these hoods on very tiny narrow handlebars to get, I guess, as aero as possible, which is quite interesting. We also saw some unreleased helmets from the likes of Trek and that funky Darth Vader style specialised helmet complete with an aero balaclava.
Yeah, useful if you were in the northern hemisphere right now, less so in the southern hemisphere.
And now for the race news, and just one race this week, which we've already discussed, actually, the Teranga half, but it is a pretty star-studded field, as always. So on the men's side, it was Braden Curry with a wire-to-wire win, actually, leading out the swim and through to the win in a time of 3 hours, 37 minutes, ahead of Mike Phillips in second and Jack Moody in third.
Well, the women's race was also won by a New Zealand athlete. It was Rebecca Clark who took the win ahead of Amelia Watkinson, who broke up the podium there. And then in third place, Hannah Berry, also representing New Zealand. And now is the time we get to share some of the photos and videos you guys have sent in. And this first one is from John, and we love you, John, because it sounds like you have been joining in on the GTN community rides on Zwift for the 30 in 30. In your pain cave, on your Tax Neo trainer, you say here, this picture, getting ready to ride with GTN as we power through the 30 for 30. 19 days down. Now, John, I'd love to hear if you've ridden or run with any of us. And if you do fancy taking a video, you can share that as well. But great photos.
I have to say, I've really enjoyed chatting away with people that have got involved, and some people really genuinely are using this 30 and 30 to sort of a bit of impetus to get fit and training. So yeah, thanks thanks to everyone that has been doing that. Next one from Dominic. This is from Antrim in Northern Ireland. He said, finding the motivation to go out of the shed to train is tough, especially when there's snow on the ground. No need for a fan though to keep cool during some Zwift miles with GTN for company. No excuses here. Very first triathlon is in May, followed by first Ironman in August, and you have got quite
There's a shed and a half,
setup there. That is awesome. I can totally understand why you wouldn't leave your pain cave, to be honest, even on the nicest of days.
Yeah, and with that snow on the ground, love it. Yeah, nice one. Thanks, and another bit of kudos for watching us as you train. Now we have Team Saunders from Austin, Texas. So my wife and I started back in October with the personal challenge to swim at least 1,000 yards every day for the month. When the month was over, we decided to keep it going and see how many days we could go. And it looks, as though they've done 100 days, I'm guessing.
I'm guessing so.
By the balloons?
I'm going to guess that, or they forgot a 0 for the 1,000 yards, but I'm pretty sure it's 100 days. So that's very, very impressive. So well done to you guys on that one. Finally, this one from Steph. This is from Groesbeek in the Netherlands. In triathlon, everything is about putting one thing after another. Too right. In the flat Netherlands, I've searched for a 100-meter elevation on a 20k ride to go for a nice muddy and slippery forest path for the hill repeats. Tired but satisfied, made my way back on some sweet spots, on the sweet spot effort. Oh, sweet spot effort. Sorry, misreading this one. To be home in time for lunch with the family. Complete with the shoes on the aero bars. But yeah, good work. That's awesome.
Yeah, I like that. That's quite fun.
Nice
It reminds me of how I had to carry my bike shoes when going up a hill.
I also noticed they've got a compass on their bell. On the aero bar.
On the aero bar.
Just in case you get lost, maybe that's how they find their way home.
Into the woods, yeah.
Brilliant, love it.
Good luck.
Thanks ever so much for all your photos of this week. Please do keep videos coming in as well if you're doing the 30 and 30, because we'd love to include them in a video coming at the end of this month. Photo uploader link is on screen right now, or you can also find it in the description down below. All right, now for caption competition. Last week we gave you this photo of Ironman running alongside some competitors during a race. So we had some great captions coming in. First one from Christoph. Weird costumes are a running joke in triathlon.
Yeah, sadly they are, aren't they? To anyone from the outside anyway. Josh Spencer. So this is what they meant by heroic climb.
Me. Bike and dog trips. Ironman thinks that those two cyclists are marvellous.
I like it. Then we have Michael Etchner says, when all you saw was Ironman on the ad.
Nice. Sean Tubbs, looks like Ironman is going hands-on to find their next race participants.
Well, the winner this week comes from ex-Jackhead Jex, something like that. Yeah, it says, when you sign up for an Ironman race, but you didn't get the gist of it.
Good work. Like that one, we'll get in touch and we'll send out a prize or a little goodie to you very soon. For this week's Caption Comp photo is this one with a unicorn spectator supporter. Do your best. Get involved in the comment section down below. Leave your best captions you can. But that is it for the show this week. We've got some fun stuff coming up on the channel, including a... can you class it as an ultra? We're doing a trail. Yeah,
we haven't even yet done it, let alone started to edit this. So we are talking quite freshly about this with no idea what to expect.
I mean, I think I know what to expect. This is going to be pretty brutal. We are running in the cheapest shoes we could possibly find over essentially an ultra or an off-road trail. So yes, wish us luck, but also you can enjoy that entertainment this weekend.
Yeah, look forward to that one. Before we go, reminder to check out the GTN shop. We've got all sorts in there. I think we've got new things coming or maybe just arrived, so recommend going to have a look at that. And for something a little more serious when it comes to videos and doing a challenge, got my 10k PB attempt, which is actually up there now. And before you leave us, remember to give us a like.